good afternoon in another OPOstories from the NBA episode 40 at 40. My guest today is Dan Dickau. Hello, Dan.
How you doing there? I apologize. It's taken us quite some time to get this on the schedule, but appreciate your following back up and looking forward to hearing a little bit more about your path of being a basketball fan over in Poland. And thanks for asking again to have me on.
I really appreciate that you find the time for us. From my perspective, it doesn't matter when we start preparing this conversation. The best is that we've got that we've analyzed it and that we could talk. Here in Poland, we've got maybe not a lot NBA fans, but basketball fans and people who start watching NBA in the 90s. And I think that will be really happy to hear your story. And before your journey with the NBA, I'm just curious about the beginnings and who was your favorite player and the team when you were a kid?
Yeah, I grew up in the Portland, Oregon area. When I was in second grade, our family moved to Vancouver, Washington, which is about 20 minutes away. And so I grew up a huge Portland Trailblazers fan. The era of Clyde Drexler, Terry Porter, Jerome Kersey, where they lost in the NBA Finals one year to the Pistons and then again to the Bulls. Those were crushing losses for me as a kid. So those were my favorite teams, but those were also some of my favorite players. But, you know, growing up in the era of Michael Jordan, if you didn't love Michael Jordan, you really weren't a basketball fan as a kid. So he was one of my favorites. John Stockton was one of my favorites. Mark Price, I really enjoyed following and watching his games. So those 5 or 6 names right there would have probably been the guys that I followed the most close.
Mm-hmm. And, how do you feel? Because as I remember, you've got the chance to play in the NBA against your favorite players from the time when you were a kid.
Yeah, it's, growing up in the Portland area, I was a kid who had big dreams and big goals, and I had to work really hard to achieve them, to play at the college level and then get to the NBA. And I had the chance to play for the Blazers twice. I was a coach on their staff as well one time. So I can actually say I got fired from my dream job or my dream company 3 different times. But, you know, I think with all things being said, the players, like I said, that I mentioned growing up kind of, looking up to, I did get a chance to play against Michael Jordan my rookie year. It's the only time I've ever stepped onto the basketball court and kind of did 3 different looks, like, oh my gosh, this truly is Michael Jordan. And so that I have memories of that I still kind of look back at and smile when I see those pictures or I think about that, or somebody like yourself asks me. You know, the other one is John Stockton of that era that I really looked up to. His last year was also my rookie year, and I got to know John when I was in college because he went to Gonzaga. I went to Gonzaga. He would always spend his falls preparing for NBA training camp by playing pickup with Gonzaga, and I got to know him really well. The biggest frustration or disappointment maybe of my NBA career is both times we played the Jazz my rookie year, I check into the game, he checks out. So I never truly got to play against him and match up against him in an NBA game. But I did against Michael Jordan, so that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I remember that when I talked with rest in peace Mark Eaton, he mentioned that once during a practice in the summer, he plays against Will Chamberlain, and he gave him some knowledge about what he should do on the court. Do you've got the same with the John Stockton? Did he give you some advices how to be a better player?
Absolutely. When I started my college career at the University of Washington, and things didn't work out injury-wise, and just needed a different scene for myself. So was able to transfer to Gonzaga, and I had always heard from the guys on the team that John was around, and he would play pickup with the current guys every fall before he'd head to training camp. And so I knew going and transferred to Gonzaga, I was going to get a chance to meet him at some point. And so would play pickup against him. And then by the time it was my senior year, obviously John we'd gotten to know each other a little bit, and John realized, I was a pretty good player. I was very serious. I was going to have a chance to play in the NBA if I had a good senior year. Well, every morning my senior year in the fall, before he left for training camp, we would work out together every single morning, about 50 minutes of shots, followed by about 40 minutes of sitting in the training room and just talking basketball. So for a young senior in college, basketball, looks like it's going to be my future in the NBA. That was immense because I got to work with him closely on skills. Then we'd get to talk basketball, and then later in the afternoon, we'd play pickup with the rest of the Gonzaga team. So, yeah, I got a really good chance to get to know him on a personal level and have him, help me think the game a little bit differently than most college kids would.
Mm-hmm. And when you started your journey with the NBA, you were selected with the 28th pick by Sacramento Kings, but then traded to Atlanta Hawks. What was your first impression when you became an NBA player? What surprised you? What was unexpected?
That's a good question. I think one of the things that surprises you right off the bat, and you think this, and you probably know this going in, but it still is a shock when you first go from, pre-draft workouts to summer league, to playing pickup with NBA guys, to once preseason is there, just how good everybody is. I mean, it is really unbelievable just how good NBA basketball players are. The adjustments that they can make on the fly after a coach calls a timeout, schematically changes one or two things, the way guys pick things up, the skill level then to be able to execute some of those changes it's mind-boggling. But that's just the average player. Then when you look at the true greats, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, I mean, those guys are just, they're just on another level. It's just absolutely mind-blowing what they can do on the court.
Mm-hmm. And when you became a Hawks player, and as a rookie, do you've got some special tasks from the seniors, and how difficult it was to be a rookie? Because I guess that you need time until you prove that you are part of the team, and the other players who are veterans before they were mentors, they need to prove you.
I was pretty lucky. I was the only rookie on the Hawks that year, the 02-03. And so my duties were on a home game shoot around. I would have to go to Krispy Kreme and bring a few dozen donuts into the practice facility. And that was an extra 30 minutes drive out of the way for me. So it wasn't too big of a deal. When we were on the road, I would have to get the gear for each guy from the equipment manager. So their practice gear, their shoes, whatever. And I'd just have to take it to each guy's room, set it in the hallway outside their door, knock on it, make sure they had it before the team bus left for practice or shoot around. So I was lucky. I didn't have to do anything too crazy or too over the top, but I think it had a lot to do with, we had a pretty veteran group, but they were pretty good guys too, with Sharif Abdur-Rahim, Theo Ratliff, Jason Terry, no true characters in the bunch.
Mm-hmm. And who was your first mentor in the NBA from this period when you started your journey with NBA?
I've been asked similar questions in the past, and when I look back, I really didn't have a vet that took me under their wing in my rookie year that really made things easy. I knew Jason Terry somewhat because we're both from the Northwest. We had worked out and against each other a little bit in college. But he was still at a point in his career where he was trying to figure out his path. And then he ended up having an unbelievable, I think, 17 or 18 year career, one of the best 3-point shooters of all time. But no guys on that early teams really kind of helped take me under their wing. And I look back at that with some disappointment, some frustration, but at the same time, not every team has those type of guys that kind of, encourage and mentor and motivate and lead. And our group wasn't that way. They were great guys. They just didn't happen to be that type of leader. But I figured it out on my own pretty quickly as far as, the work ethic that I had to continue to have from college, translate to the NBA, and even take it to the next level. The preparation that I needed to have as far as in the weight room, taking care of my body by eating and getting enough sleep, and just looking out for the future prospects of my career. But I guess, in a roundabout way, a way to answer it and kind of, share a couple guys that I really enjoyed being teammates with and playing with would have been, when I finally got a chance to play a lot of minutes consistently, my third year was with the New Orleans Hornets. And, we weren't a great team by any stretch. We didn't win a lot of games, but it was great for me because I got an opportunity to play. But PJ Brown really would have been, I guess, maybe what you're kind of alluding to about an early mentor. He was a great leader. He was supportive of me from the day I got traded there. He was probably my favorite teammate as far as everything that he brought to the table, his skills, his leadership, his care for each other on the team.
Mm-hmm. And when I look at Basketball Reference, I find out that you were in 7 teams, played in 6, and many times were traded. And what was the most difficult in being traded to another team?
Well, both times I was traded from Portland and the Trailblazers. I grew up in the area. The first time I got traded, it was during Summer League. I was about to go out and warm up for a Summer League game. And with the team, we left the locker room, and the general manager, John Nash, at the time said, "Hey, Dan, you need to hang back here for a second. I got to talk to you." So right there, I knew that wasn't a good sign. They traded me to Golden State. And oddly enough, I never played for Golden State. They traded me a month or so later to Dallas. And then Dallas traded me to New Orleans for my big opportunity that each player wants to get. And then the second time getting traded from Portland to New York was really hard to take. And I think it's because at that point, my wife and I had a couple kids. We were from the area. We were led to believe by the general manager at the time that I wasn't going anywhere, that I was going to be a part of the organization for the next couple of years. And with that being said, I was hoping to kind of, take that next year or two and really kind of grow what I meant to that organization and be a big part of it. But that wasn't the case. Got traded to New York, and then oddly enough got traded to the Clippers and had a better season with the Clippers. But yeah, those would have been the two most frustrating or difficult to accept.
I'm also really curious because from fan perspective, when we look at the players, statistics are something which describe was it a good or bad season. And with Hornets, you've got 13 plus points and 46 times you were in the starting 5. But from your perspective, was it the best season in the NBA for you, or was it another?
No, it was definitely the New Orleans season, just because, we didn't win, but it gave me the ability to finally get comfortable in the NBA setting and have some personal success. And with that personal success, it allowed me to extend my career. I signed a 3-year contract with Boston. Unfortunately, I got hurt, tore my Achilles about 20 games into that season with Boston. But, I look at each stop that I had in the NBA and I look back now, and there's certain things that I learned at the time that I know I learned and I valued it at the time. And now there's things I look back and I realize I learned it, but I learned it much later, and it's impacting me and helping me now with different things I'm doing in the world of basketball, with broadcasting and workouts with kids here in the Spokane area where we live now. But, each stop had some positives to it, and Atlanta was my first opportunity. And I realized I can play if given a great opportunity. Getting traded back to Portland, I realized quickly that it's a business because of being traded, one, and then two, just the way that last second half of that second season went. Damon Stoudemire is the entrenched starter, no questions asked. I got it. But then there was three of us backup point guards, myself, Omar Cook, and Eddie Gill, that they literally, Coach Cheeks, literally, I think he flipped a coin some nights to see which guy he wanted to play. And if it was your chance and you didn't play well, you might not see the court again for 3 or 4 games. And that was really frustrating, but I learned, again, to be prepared, to stay ready and not pass up opportunities when they came my way. So that's why my third year, when I finally got a chance with New Orleans to play minutes, I wasn't going to let anything hold me back. I was going to attack it. I was going to be aggressive to shoot. I was going to be vocal as a leader. And that really, like I said, allowed me to extend my NBA career after that season with the Hornets.
Mm-hmm. And also you've got your basketball player CV, time when you played in Europe, in Italy and Germany. And do you like this time?
I did. I always wanted to go play in Europe after I figured my NBA career was done. And, I finished my 6th year in the NBA with the Clippers, and it was in a weird time where there wasn't a lot of contract offers for guys who, like myself, who are a little bit older. We still could provide veteran leadership. We could still play at a very high level, obviously. But it was a weird time because of salary cap and just different financial, as well as kind of the trend in where the league was going. A lot of times, if it was myself or a younger guy, they were going to offer the younger guy a contract, no questions asked, because of, they would only have to offer him a third of what I would have been based on my years of service. So, I had an opportunity, a couple opportunities start to pop up where we were talking with teams in Italy and Spain, and I think there might have been one in Greece. And I ended up deciding to sign a 2-year contract with Avellino in southern Italy. And the beautiful thing and the reason I signed there is because it was a EuroLeague team. And I knew that if I went there, I really wanted to play on a EuroLeague team because it's great basketball. It's competitive. If you play well, you are going to be seen by NBA personnel, and you can have your foot back in the NBA in no time. But right away, I went over there and I got hurt. I got hurt in training camp and tried to play through it and just couldn't. And then just couldn't get back healthy in time. And at that point, you know how it is with injuries. If you're, as a player, you're not able to provide what that organization wants, whether it's in Europe or whether it's in the NBA, they can get frustrated with you. Not that they were frustrated with me, but we realized pretty quickly it wasn't a great fit for me and my family in Avellino. And then, the fact that I wasn't playing and I was hurt, we decided mutually to kind of get out of the deal. And, it is what it is. Someday I want to get back and see that part of Italy, and look at it and enjoy it from a different perspective as opposed to a player, but as a tourist. But then my time in Bamberg, Germany, it was great. We were a team that had a lot of injuries, myself included at the end, which is why, I had to leave with a couple weeks left in the season, but I played really well over there. I had a good time playing with the teammates that we had. Chris Fleming is now a very well-respected assistant coach in the NBA. He was the head coach there. It was great. I enjoyed it. But again, as an athlete, so many times your enjoyment of where you're living is related to how you are playing. And both times I was in Europe, I was hurt. And with being hurt, you're not able to do what you love, and the frustration sets in. And so, two good situations that just didn't work out because of injuries.
Mm-hmm. And when we are also looking at some European issues, let's call it, in your basketball career, you were also close to playing the Polish national team. Could you tell us something about this?
Yeah, well, the Polish National Basketball Federation, they learned that I have some Polish ties. On my dad's side is where they are. And, they reached out through my agent This would have been when I was with the Clippers, so I believe that was 08. Just to see if I had any interest in joining, and absolutely I did, 100%. I was really interested in it, and so the talks were centered around, I believe it would have been to play in the 2008 European finals, whatever, Eurobasket, I think is what it was, because I think Poland hosted it at a number of different sites that year.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were trying to put together a really good team. And I really wanted to do it, but the biggest hang up for me is I didn't have a contract at the time. And I also had, my wife was pregnant and due with our third child at the time. And so logistically it didn't work, contract wise, as well as family stuff. But I really wish, had it been a year before or a year after, I really would have wanted to do it. I would love to get back to Poland and be a part of something at some point, whether it's a basketball clinic or, take my sons on a basketball tour, who knows what it is. But I have been to Poland while I was in college for a Athletes in Action tour. I think we played 4 or 5 games in about 7 days. Spent some time in Gdansk, a day and a half or so in Warsaw, and then spent some time at one of the Polish national Olympic training villages where we had a couple friendly games as well. So who knows? Maybe I'll get back to Poland at some point.
And also, you mentioned during our talk that you were a player development assistant in the Portland Trail Blazers during 2011-12 season. How it was for you with NBA player perspective, former NBA player perspective and experience, to work with younger, talented players? What were your duties in the team?
Yeah, so I was a player development coach that year, and I was also a college scout that year. I was learning lots of different pieces and parts of what an NBA front office as well as a coaching staff does and do to see which path that I might want to go down. So I didn't travel with the team that year. Every home practice and every home game, I was there. Normal coach duties during practice, but then I would be working out the young players before and after practice. I'd work out the young players before every game, sit in on all the coaches' meetings, and just learn. But then when they did go out and travel, I would go out and scout college games. And so I learned the evaluation process for how an NBA front office looks at possible players that were in college. So I learned a lot that year. It was great. But unfortunately, Nate McMillan got fired towards the end of the season. They brought in a whole new general manager, a whole new coaching staff later that summer after Summer League. And, I wasn't retained as part of the staff. And at that point, I was disappointed, but I also realized that, I think I'm going to take the broadcasting path. So I've been doing the broadcasting for about 10 years or so now, and living in Spokane, college basketball has become my focus.
Mm-hmm. And in Poland also we've got some fans for the NCAA and the college basketball as a fresh, as a different emotions, different energy. And how do you remember your time spent in the NCAA in the Gonzaga? Because we were also awarded, and you mentioned about a good senior year will help you to going to the NBA. What kind of memories you've got from the period?
Yeah, I had an awesome college career, something I look back and really, sometimes I guess even surprise myself that I was able to have the memories and experiences that I had. I mean, I started at University of Washington. Both teams when I was there were in the NCAA tournament, Sweet 16, my freshman year. And then the second year we lost in the first round, but then I transferred, and my redshirt year, the year you have to sit out in college in America, if you transfer, or at least used to, the rule is different now. That team from Gonzaga went to the Sweet 16. My junior year playing, we went Sweet 16, and then my senior year, we lost in the first round. But, I was a part of 5 really good college basketball teams and was a part of 5 NCAA tournament teams. The experiences and the memories I had from playing in those different games were awesome. Was in a number of rivalry games with both schools against different schools. And then I was, individually, I made the right choice for myself to change schools, go to Gonzaga. I was able to maximize my potential as a player. And then, I take a lot of pride in the fact that I was the first All-American from Gonzaga. And that's saying a lot, because now you look at all the good players that have come through Gonzaga. I can say I was the first. I think if you look at the NBA rosters right now, there's 10 or 11 NBA guys who are from Gonzaga. I think that's right, 10 or 11. So it's pretty amazing what this program has become over here in the U.S.
There was a moment a couple of years ago when we thought that maybe another Polish player, Przemek Karnowski, he was close, but I think that now it's not big men's center's time, and probably because of that injuries, he's not in the NBA now.
Yeah, big Shem. I love Shem. He's a great guy. He's a consummate teammate. I mean, I had a chance to go down to plenty of practices and watch him, watch his skill, watch how he works with his teammates. And then obviously I saw him playing games. But what you really got to know about Shemek is his skill level and his understanding of the game and his IQ were off the charts. I mean, unbelievably good. And, you make the comment about, it's not necessarily a big man's game in the NBA. Well, had Shemek been about 10 years before with his career, he would have been in the NBA as well. Now, he did have some injuries. He had a back injury at Gonzaga that I think really kind of hampered his continued growth and his opportunities as a professional. I think he's had a knee surgery or 2 since being a pro, but great guy, great player. I don't think anybody that he came across in Spokane has a bad word to say about Shemek, because he is a great guy.
Mm-hmm. Last question, as a dot at our conversation, if you could create NBA All Dan Dickau teammates team, who would you select it?
Wow. Brian Scalabrine, PJ Brown, myself, so there's 3. Dirk Nowitzki, and all right, I'm gonna have to go with one other teammate from another. I'll take myself off and I'll put Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge on there. So 5 guys. Yeah. Tremendous players. All those guys are really good people. I enjoy playing with each and every one of them.
Mm-hmm. I thought that it was the last question, but you mentioned about Brandon Roy, and he was one of my favorite players, and the player with this what if story. Could you tell us something about him as a teammate and also a player? Because he was really talented, but also unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, had Brandon not had knee injuries, he would have been, multiple time All-Star. I believe he was Rookie of the Year. I believe he was an All-Star once, maybe twice before knee injuries really took over. But I mean, he was a great teammate. He pushed you, yet he supported you. His skill level was off the charts. He didn't make it all about me, which a lot of really good players tend to do. And he would have been a Hall of Famer had he not got hurt.
Mm-hmm. Dan, thank you very much for conversation. And it was a pleasure to talk about your career and also about basketball. So again, thank you very much, and enjoy the day, because you are just before the noon in the USA.
Absolutely. Thanks again, and appreciate your patience and staying with myself to schedule a time that works for us both, because we have quite a few time zones that we had to figure out. So take care, and appreciate you having me.
Okay, thank you very much, and goodbye.